Hello my friends, in today's video we will take a look at Sony FE70-200mm f4 Macro G OSS 2. After almost 10 years, Sony has finally decided to update their short to medium telephoto f4 zoom. Users and manufacturers often overlook f4 zooms because of the f2.8 versions, but I think that the f4 can offer a lot of performance and it is sufficient or even a better choice for some users, including myself. This time, pragmatic f4 aperture finally meets the latest optical design and lens technology. In this video, we will take a look at the performance and the feature set of this lens in combination with Sony A7R V. 70-200 is a classic short to medium telephoto range. It is suitable for a wide variety of genres such as portraits, journalism, or sport. I mostly use the 70-200 for landscapes, cities, architecture, and travel photography in general. Besides the longer focal range, it provides a different perspective than the 24-70 and additional creative options. It is also out of the range of smartphones. 70-200 is an easy way to somewhat differentiate your stills and video, and in my opinion it is well worth carrying around. f4 aperture is a compromise between the light gathering and the size. You can still get a lot of subject separation at f4 and the ISO performance of A7 cameras is great, so I don't really need f2.8 for my intended use. The first highlight of this lens is the size. It is 14.9 cm long and it weighs 794 grams. It is significantly smaller than most 70-200mm f4s. The size is actually quite similar to smaller 24-70mm f2.8s. Sony was able to achieve this size without too many compromises, as I will explain throughout this video. Pretty much the only compromise is that the version 2 loses internal zoom. Mounted on Sony A7R V, it is well balanced. There is just enough space between the grip and the lens. The grip on the A7R V is well shaped and large enough, so the handling is completely fine in my opinion. It is mostly made out of high quality plastics combined with metal parts. As you can see, it is white, which helps it reflect the heat and prevent expansion of internal parts. It generally feels like a high quality premium product. This lens is weather sealed, including a weather sealing gasket around the mount. It can work with 1.4 and 2 times teleconverters, but I don't have either of them, so there is not much that I can tell you about that. Regarding the controls, those are very complete to say the least. The zoom ring is extremely smooth with completely even resistance. The angle of rotation is also very reasonable. This lens uses focus by wire system, of course. The focusing ring is also very smooth and it has very reasonable amount of resistance. Regarding the switches, we have the Autofocus manual focus switch accompanied by a focus limiter. If you set it to 3 meters of infinity, it will be slightly faster. Full-time DMF lets you switch to manual focusing simply by turning the ring. There is also a switch that turns the stabilization on and off and a mode switch. Mode 1 is for normal use, Mode 2 is for panning, and Mode 3 is sports mode. Last but not least, we have 3 custom buttons. All 3 buttons always do the same thing, which can be set in the camera menu. 70-200mm f4 Mark II comes with a tripod collar which can be rotated for portrait mode or just removed. As I've said, it is roughly as big as f2.8 standard zooms, so I don't think that a tripod collar is necessary. Despite that, it is nice that Sony has included it in the box. Pretty large lens hood is included as well. This one is very high quality and it is lined with anti-reflective material on the inside. So what about the optical qualities? I have tested this lens with a 61 megapixel sensor in Sony A7R V. This sensor is relatively demanding, so let's see whether this lens can match it. At 70mm, we can somewhat unsurprisingly see perfect image quality in the center of the frame right from f2.8. The contrast is also perfect, there is no chromatic aberration or room for improvement in any way. That means that the perfect quality continues at f5.6 and f8 is also perfect. There is actually no diffraction at f11, so that still looks perfect. Even more impressively, the corner sharpness is exactly the same. The resolution is maximal, the contrast is outstanding, and so is the lack of chromatic aberration. There is no profile correction noise either. Much like in the center, the image quality stays perfect at f5.6 and f8. There might be a tiniest decrease of contrast at f11, but that still looks fantastic. The results at 135mm are identical. The center of the frame is razor sharp with striking contrast. The chromatic aberration is nowhere to be seen. The aperture doesn't seem to matter. f4, f5.6 and f8 look identical, and so does f11 with no diffraction at all. Corners are again perfect. It is getting repetitive, but in the best possible way. You will get perfect image quality in every way from f4 to f8 and again barely visible decrease of contrast at f11. Will we finally see some weaknesses at 200mm? No, we will not. It is the same story. Perfect image quality in every way from f4 to f11. Finally, in the corners, no surprise. Perfect image quality from f4 to f8 and once again barely visible diffraction at f11. Overall, this is an absolute optical greatness. It has no weaknesses in terms of image quality. There is not much to be said here. This optical performance is clearly visible in the field as well. It simply takes incredibly detailed images. Zooming into high texture pictures is very interesting in combination with the 61 megapixel sensor. There is a little bit of barrel distortion at 70mm, which transforms into pincushion distortion around 135mm focal length. That will be completely fixed either by profile corrections in the Lightroom or in camera. There is also a bit of vignetting at f4, but that will also be fixed without introducing noise in the corners. You can actually get a lot of subject separation at f4 on full frame, especially towards the long end. The rendition of bokeh is pretty nice. It has 9 aperture blades, which seems to be enough. It obviously can't compete with f2.8 telephoto zooms in this category, but it is definitely not hopeless either. On the other hand, the minimum focus distance is between 26 and 42 cm, which means that it can keep constant 0.5 times magnification. That makes it an outstanding semi-macro lens. The image quality at a minimum focus distance is as good as at infinity. There is a tiny bit of longitudinal chromatic aberration, but it is barely visible. The macro designation in the name of this lens is well deserved. Regarding the autofocus, there is again not much to talk about. As expected, everything works perfectly. The focusing is fast and as accurate as it gets with both A7R5 and A7 IV. I have tried some very difficult tests with no issues. Naturally, all smart features including Animal AF and all tracking modes work as well. Autofocus mode is completely silent and it won't be picked up by in-camera microphone or by shotgun microphone. This lens is parfocal, so it will keep the focus as you are zooming in and out. It is not really possible to say whether it is achieved digitally or optically, but it works perfectly, so it doesn't really matter. The amount of focus breathing is very low, which is quite impressive considering the size of this lens. Breathing compensation is available, but I don't think that it is necessary in this case. 70-200 Mark II is optically stabilized. This system works together with the in-body image stabilization and provides great results together with the A7R5. I am able to get sharp images at about 1/10 of a second at 100mm. It also works great in video. Static shots are completely fine even at 200mm. I can say that the optical image stabilization in this lens is very effective. I have decided not to compare this lens to the first version because it is 10 years old, but I would like to point out how much progress has Sony made since then. This lens is smaller, optically a lot better, it has much better close-up capabilities, better focusing, and it works with teleconverters. Those are normally contradicting qualities, but it was possible to achieve all of this through technological advancements, so I just wanted to appreciate that. To sum up, Sony FE70-200mm f4 Macro G OSS 2 is an outstanding short to mid telephoto zoom. This is yet another review of a Sony lens where I wasn't able to find any weaknesses. Optical performance in combination with a 61 megapixel sensor is flawless. You can use it at any aperture from f4 to f11 throughout the focal range and always get perfect image quality. It is compact, very well made, and it offers a complete set of controls. It is an outstanding semi-macro lens. The focusing is excellent and so is the stabilization. It won't give you the same subject separation as f2.8 version, but it is definitely not hopeless when it comes to blurring the background. The only compromise that Sony did to achieve all of this is that they have used telescoping tube for zooming. As you can probably guess, I am more than happy with this lens. It is a great example of advanced lens design, which means that I can highly recommend it. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope that you liked this video and that you have found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.